Hey everyone, and welcome to the Starside Lounge. This is episode 0, I guess we're going to ever so lovingly call it. Starside Lounge, of course, being the official podcast of the DBO community. I'm Grim, GrimBrother One, as you'll see me post, and I am joined by the ridiculously effervescent and far more manly crew of NCSU. Duncan, hey man.
That's me.
Mr. Mastrbiggy.
Hello.
Beorn.
Hello.
Malagate.
How you doing?
The one, the only Leviathan.
Hi.
Leviathan is actually just drawing all of his responses. He's not actually going to speak. So
that's how I contributed to the Google Doc. So
it's really just his version of a podcast interpretive dance, but with a tablet. So we've got, goodness, man, what seems like an insurmountable amount of stuff to cover. But we really wanted to get something out for all of you guys before E3 hits and before we all ride the descent into the maelstrom, so to speak. And I just want to go real quick and give a real fast hit on what are you most looking forward to or hoping comes out of E3. We'll start with Duncan.
The thing I want to hear about most is, I guess, player creation tools. If there's anything like Forge or screenshot tools in Destiny, things that'll let people create things and post them to the internet.
Any kind of end user of Grognok?
Yeah, well, that too. Level creation, that would be really neat. But I'm saying even just going back to the kind of stuff we had with Halo, machinima tools and forge sculptures and all of that stuff.
It'd be interesting to see if some of the machinima tools, and there are other games that have had some neat stuff. Uncharted, actually, no one ever really talks about, but Uncharted had a really interesting machinima mode and creator that really you could kind of set up like a whole set and scene and characters and things like that. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what comes about there. Biggie, what are your thoughts, man? What do you want to see?
That was pretty much what I want to know about. I want to know.
Well, Duncan, you suck.
Copycat.
Duncan, Jesus.
Way to steal everyone's stuff. And Beorn, how about you?
I just can't wait to hear and learn more about, like, what is this shared world that we're going to be in? And we really know so very, very little about what they've got planned. And I don't even know what's going to be coming down the tube, but I'm just excited to see any and all of it.
Yeah. Malagate, what do you think?
There's a number of different things that I'm really interested to hear about. One of them that I'm the most interested to hear about is the how the mobile app is going to interface with the rest of the game. I hope that Bungie's going to step it up from other things that I've seen. But the other thing that I think they've been really quiet about that lots and lots of people want to hear about is competitive multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's actually a. It's like frighteningly under the radar almost.
I think that it's with as developed as the Halo gameplay got, with all the way up until Reach. I think that there's no way that they can't be really trying to fine tune that for themselves, just for what they like to play. I mean, because that's one of their mottos after all. And I think that I'm willing to trust their instincts in that regard.
I'm wondering how long it'll take, probably about 7 seconds, before the inevitable comparisons are made with the multiplayer play style and gameplay kernels that we find in Destiny versus, let's say, what we found in Halo 4. Because inevitably, people are of course going to completely forego the fact that it's a different infrastructure altogether. Mm-hmm. But they're certainly going to compare, like, oh, well, this could have been maybe the direction that Halo took, rather than the way that it did go. And I think it's going to be important for fans, really, of both franchises to remember that Destiny is its own beast. And we talked a little before show, and I'm sure we will after, as far as some of the little nuggets and seeds and foundations for Destiny, I'm sure being present in Halo games, maybe even back to ODST and Halo 3, but certainly in Reach. But it'll be definitely interesting to see what kind of comparisons are drawn.
And that's already happening, really. Like on various forums, you have people talking about, I hope there's no iron sight, stuff like that. They're like, it's got to be just like Halo. There's a lot of that going around, or there was for a while. And I think
I know my brother, which actually doesn't narrow it down. Number 4 will weep happy tears of joy if there's ADS. He's a big fan of that, so I know he'll like that. Levi, what do you think, man? What are you best hoping to see?
I just want to see Joseph Staten talk excitedly about something.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
We certainly haven't had enough of that yet.
Yeah. So
they have him caged up. They won't let him out. Yeah. until after E3 starts.
Yeah, they got to bring back. Was it Bungie TV from?
Oh man,
1995.
I was on Bungie TV, 2001.
Wow.
It was terrible. I hope nobody has footage of that.
Well, so internet, if you can look up footage of Bungie TV, let's crowdsource the embarrassment.
I think that'd be good. I had to scream, "They're everywhere!" like Doug Zartman from Marathon. I got a free T-shirt.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah,
nice.
It's great.
Is that floating around on YouTube anywhere?
I've looked for it before and couldn't find anything, but.
He looked for it to make sure you couldn't find. It's when you Google your own name. Oh, thank God, Panama didn't come up. So, we want to talk some about the player-specific interactions and modes and factions. But I think important to that is just the character classes, and that's really what we know the most about. And even that we don't know a whole lot about, but we know what the classes are, and we at least know the general foundation for the style that each one kind of represents. So let's go down the list and see if you guys have something already picked out. Are you planning on running with anything? And Levi, we'll start with you this time.
Can you repeat the question?
What kind of pizza do you like?
Like cheese pizza.
Cheese pizza, that's good. And in other news, what kind of character class and player race are you looking at choosing?
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. I just want to make sure. So, Hunter looks really cool. Basically, you're choosing between, at least from the three guys we saw on the wallpaper. It's like choosing between Master Chief, Boba Fett, and another
Gandalf.
Sure, Gandalf with a helmet. So it's really hard to choose, but I think I'm leaning towards Hunter or maybe Titan. I kind of like being the big slow guy. So
nice, which is funny because you're nimble in real life.
I might give the appearance of a nimble person, but
the illusion of complexity.
Yeah.
Malagate, what about you?
I actually think that I'm probably going to play a little bit of each. I think it depends on the context in which I want to play. I know that a lot of players will probably want to pick one class and stick with it through a bunch of different modes. But I'm guessing that if I want to go out questing with friends, I may want to use the Warlock. If I want to go out questing in the wilderness by myself, I'll probably want to use the Hunter, and if I want to play competitive multiplayer and things of that nature, I think I want to play the Titan. I really don't think that I can pick just one that I want to that I want to flesh out fully. I think I'm going to spend a little time with each of them.
I'm sorry, that's not the answer we were looking for, so we're going to go with Beorn and take away all of Malagate's points.
Yes. Do I get the points?
You get the points.
You get the chance to steal them.
Oh, okay. So if once again, we don't know what Destiny is really going to be looking like when it hits gameplay. But right now, going by sort of my previous indications and previous gameplay for other games, I like long to medium range combats. Sniper rifles, that sort of thing. I think I'm probably going to go with a hunter for my main. But who knows? Maybe there's some different aspect, and I just have to go warlock.
And I think seeing if we're able, when we're able to see some gameplay, it'll be interesting to see how many people were like really dead set on a certain type of combination because of how awesome the postcard looked. And then when we see it in gameplay, we're like, actually, just kidding. I want this one.
Yeah.
So,
human.
Biggie, what about
human hunter?
Human hunter. Oh, okay. Right. All right. Yes. You want to hunt humans? Okay. So that's weird. Okay, Biggie.
I'm gonna play all of them, but I would say I think the hunter and the warlock are the most interesting, just because they're kind of characters that Bungie's never really done before, or at least not in the Halo games. If you look at the Titan, it's kind of Master Chief, and I know what that's kind of about. So just from just looking at the pictures and the postcards, like the long capes, the powers, all that stuff is really exciting to me. So
I think armor lock was magic. I mean, it was dark magic. But,
let's end this podcast.
And fired. Duncan.
I'm gonna go with Beorn and Biggie, I guess. As far as like the hunter goes, I've always been sort of a long range player. I like sniping the enemies from afar. So just guessing based on appearance and class name, that sounds like the one I'd go with. I'm kind of interested to see how if there are gameplay differences between the races. Like the classes, it seems pretty obvious there's going to be a gameplay difference between which one you pick there. But the difference between the races doesn't seem like it's quite as obvious, if there is one. So that'll be interesting.
And that's actually something that I was going to mention specifically too. Is I'm leaning toward an Exo Hunter, at least to start out with. But I'm kind of the same way. It's like I feel like I know a little bit. I feel like the difference between the classes is a little bit more, not necessarily a known quantity, but maybe a more predictable one. What's very interesting is the combinations thereof, and to see if an awoken warlock is going to play the same as a human warlock, and not even necessarily just with gameplay, but even I love character customization. And so it'll be interesting to see if there are certain customization options as well that are exclusive to the different races. If you want to be a warlock, then you get certain stuff available to you if you're an awoken versus you're a human or an exo. And just kind of seeing the story behind the awoken and the exo. I'm almost wondering if you...
Don't get Tiger Man.
That's
Tiger Man.
Tiger Man.
If that turns out to be the PlayStation exclusive content, I'm going to be really mad. Or I'll just buy a PlayStation.
I was just going to say that would actually just maybe win the console war.
Yeah.
Checking in online. Tiger Man. Oh, okay. Never mind. But that also leads us into kind of what we wanted to talk about next, which isn't just the character classes and not just the races, but the factions. And it's kind of interesting. It's a bit of a full circle thing, because the factions were one of the very first things, if not the first thing, that we even saw about Destiny. I mean, we've seen the T-shirts floating around and some of the logos and things for, goodness, what, Duncan, at least over a year.
Yeah, I guess it's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
was
Well, and-
April 1st was that Bungie Penny Arcade ping pong match where Jaunty was wearing the Seven Seraph shirt, and that was like the first time people really started paying attention to that because of the Destiny symbol on his shoulder. And I think it was like a month or two after that when Hitman Chan put the pieces together with the trademark and found out the name of the game.
Yeah, then we had the Seven Seraph shirts at the HBO LAN party as well. So which wasn't too far after that. But yeah, so it's going to be really interesting, and it's funny. I actually had talked to one of my brothers a little bit earlier, and he asked me about it. He's like, "Oh, have they said anything more about the factions?" And I was like, "No, I haven't heard any more." But it's funny. I was just watching for the umpteenth time another one of the videos, and I believe it was the reveal video when all of the PS4 news started coming out. And one of the characters they showed, it was either a Titan or I believe it was a Titan actually, and had one of the factions on like the helmet, on like the chin, like the mandible section of the helmet. And then I think in one of the concept art as well, there's a faction name on the weapon itself. And that kind of leads to some interesting questions too. It's like, are we going to get faction-specific armor, faction-specific weapons or weapon skins, and how that's going to play out? What do you guys think about that? Anybody want to jump in?
I'll chime in real quick. One thing I'm curious about in that respect of what you're talking about is that what similarities we're going to see between Destiny and Borderlands, because one thing that had occurred to me was based on if there are faction specific weapons, would it not make sense for them to function differently, just like you have the different brands of weapons in Borderlands? Some weapons are known for being high damage, but long reload times, short clips, things like that. Other ones, much quicker reload times, but you've got an elemental effect. But the base damage is not very high. Things of that nature. I think that I hadn't really considered that at length before for Destiny, but I mean, with the other things that they're trying to work in, it would make sense.
Yeah, I definitely think that there are going to be some interesting elements as far as some sense of exclusivity between different styles and classes, and what'll be interesting, and I guess what'll be lamented, I'm sure, by many, is whether or not we'll also see some of those same things regarding the platforms, and we'll actually jump kind of to that. Destiny has been announced for 4 platforms. PS3, PS4, 360, and Xbox One. So we'll actually kind of go through the list. And what do you like? What is your preferred platform, or at least so far you think your preferred platform is going to be? And maybe name a quick reason or two why. And let's start with Beorn.
Ooh, I get to go first. Well, I'm Xbox right now. Just that's where I'm sitting. I have a PlayStation 3. I've only ever really played Uncharted on it. It's mostly a Blu-ray player. But I think if Bungie, if they really dig in and are in the PlayStation camp for a particular reason, that would be enough for me to hop over. I mean, it was enough reason for me to get an Xbox in the first place.
Yeah.
When Halo 1 came out. So I think they're on the game, and they know what's going on a little bit ahead of time before anybody else. And so if PlayStation's where it's at, then yeah. But right now, though, I'm sticking with Xbox because that's where I got my friends list. I've got my gamer tag. I got all that.
I think that'll be a big selling point, at least maybe initially, is that social aspect, especially with how hard Bungie has kind of been pushing that cooperative experience. Is where are your friends, and is that going to be the determining factor of the platform that you choose? Levi, what do you think?
Sticking with the 360 for now, since I do not have money to invest in anything else. But I'm sure...
Listeners, if you would like, you can send a check addressed to Leviathan, care of Grim, No, I was good.
But, I've already got, Xbox Live, Xbox, everything's set up, so why wouldn't I just use that thing? Unless I start to see, something truly amazing for, another console or something. If Tiger Man is exclusive for PS3, I might have to.
There's got to be like a Tiger Man armor set or skin or something. Maybe his cool like Tiger Man kimono, or the suit, the suit and tie.
Cape.
So Tiger Man cape would be great. So like Tiger Man's face on the back of a hunter cloak would be the best thing ever.
Or they'll just save it, and then it'll be Destiny 2, The Return of Tiger Man.
Oh, there you go. Maybe Tiger Man turns into Recon. I can have Tiger Man.
Just spins off into his own franchise.
Put that let's create that hashtag now. Malagate, what do you think?
Oh, regarding the platforms?
Not regarding the pizza.
Yeah. I've been invested in Xbox for close to 10 years now. I was a subscriber since day one. The second that I heard that Bungie was going to be working on Xbox exclusively, it was a no-brainer for me. But at this point, there's enough things with the way that Microsoft is changing their tune about the services they're providing and things like that I'm interested to see. I haven't owned a PlayStation in years, and I'm interested to see if I can play. If there's any way, if what some of the things that we're thinking about that secondary sign-on, if there really is a homogeneous pool of a player base, then for me there wouldn't be any reason not to go to the PS4. If that's not the case, then I'll probably stick with the with Xbox as a brand, and I'll probably pick up the Xbox One.
Master Biggie?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I'd say from a pure gamer standpoint, the PlayStation 4 was definitely a better sell than the Xbox reveal. But I can't imagine that Sony would not have a similar system in place in terms of DRM, because that publishers would just look at Sony and be like, "What are you doing? We can have our way on the Xbox, forget you." So I think both systems will be pretty comparable in terms of DRM and all those checks and online checks and all that stuff. So what it really comes down to is, where can I play with my Halo crew? Where can I play with you guys? And that seems like it's going to be Xbox. So I guess Xbox.
Duncan?
I'm just going to wait until it comes out on PC. Maybe. You never know. That, or I'll just play exclusively on Vita through my PlayStation 4. I don't know.
What is that Destiny game for Vita? What is it called?
Oh, yeah.
Was it like Destiny the Fallen?
The Fallen, yeah, the Fallen. Play the Origin. That actually does bring up an interesting point, and we discussed it just a little bit in the green room version of our podcast, and that was some of the announcements a couple of weeks ago regarding some statements made by Sony that pretty much all of the PlayStation 4 games are supposed to be also playable on Vita. I think one of the restrictions is if it specifically uses like the camera technology, then it wouldn't necessarily be playable on the Vita. But from what we know about Destiny, there doesn't seem to be anything that would specifically preclude it from falling into the you can play it on Vita as well category. And that's going to be very interesting for a couple of different reasons. Just personally, if you can play it on Vita, that would make getting the PS4 version very enticing. But as we were talking, and Malagate, you hit on it a little bit, as far as the homogeneous player base, if you kind of have that second check-in and that second login with BNet, and it kind of goes through your BNet account, and you can share saves no matter what platform you're on, that's going to really be a game changer, I think. If I know that I can have a copy of Destiny on my Xbox One and play with my Xbox Live friends, but I can switch over to PSN and play with them on my PlayStation 4 or 3 or whatever. But then I can also take it on the go with my Vita. I mean, if all of the stars align and things fall into place, you could conceivably play while you're traveling on your Vita and then come back and load your account back up on your 360 or your Xbox One. And really have a continued experience. I mean, talking about a shared world, goodness, like the implications for that are huge. And as we've said before, Bungie has a history of doing some really groundbreaking things first. Does anybody want to jump in and kind of chime in on that sentiment?
Question about the Vita thing. Is it like you can actually take the game anywhere, or are you just streaming from your PlayStation 4 the PlayStation?
You know what? I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure what if it's a streaming, or I mean, if somebody else wants to jump in on that.
It would have to be a streaming thing.
I would imagine it is.
And if it's that, who's to say that come Monday Microsoft doesn't announce something similar for the Xbox One and Surface tablets? Yeah, like Smart Glass. I mean, you can plug a 360 controller into a Surface tablet and use it like that. Maybe you could stream and have your Xbox, doing the actual game rendering and stuff and streaming it to that. So who knows?
Well, and the concept's been proven. I mean, I remember I was one of the people that when I first heard of like the On Live service, I was like, "There's no way." It's like it's like I can't make it through a multiplayer match sometimes. There's no way it's going to stream everything. But I remember playing it and thinking like, man, this is really impressive. And playing it, a couple of years ago, and I know the technology has come further along then, and I know that both Sony and Microsoft have examined that in each their different ways. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was kind of like you said, Duncan, where maybe Microsoft also announces a similar type structure. And you can already see them trying to unify their platforms with that whole Windows platform with the Windows 8 and the Metro styling. So it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. I think as far as the handheld and remote devices like the Vita and the Surface, I definitely think we'll see some Destiny integration with that, but I don't know if we're going to actually see, direct gameplay using it as a second gameplay. Yeah, it's just, I don't think the technology is there yet, even as neat as those devices are. A game like Destiny is going to be, every frame counts when you're playing a Bungie shooter. And so any sort of input lag or delay is just going to throw the whole thing off. And I just don't know how well that'll work, and I don't think they'll send out something that's half-baked.
Yeah, well, and it'll be interesting, and like you said, it could be something that is a much more different experience. And there are some games that have had some like shared experience, but with cross-platform types. EVE Online is one that comes to mind. EVE with the Dust 514. There's some shared experience there where you can actually have orbital strikes called in by people, I believe, playing on the PC version, which is a completely different genre of game. And so maybe it's something that's like that. Maybe you're able to, maybe the Vanguard reporting in, maybe when you're on a mobile device, maybe you're a part of the Vanguard and you're, gathering intel or playing some sort of support type role. And assisting.
Really interesting thought.
Yeah, there was a conversation about that on the forums a while back, and I really think that there's the potential for them to do something of that nature. They really have the opportunity to make it more than just a kind of alternate media stream for marketing, that sort of thing on the mobile devices. Like I don't think that it's really going to take much. I mean, they've got the developing horsepower. I'm sure they could throw even some rudimentary game mechanic together that would interact with the mobile device, that would show up in game as a in-world difference based on that, and I think it's going to really resonate with the player base.
Well, it'll really give people a chance, I think, to again find their own way to build their legend. They keep talking about that they want you to build your legend, and you know what? There's often a disparity between the people who have the time to just sit and play a lot in front of their console, no matter what platform it is, and the people that are just, more at work or on the go or traveling a lot. And so allowing for that fan base and that player base and play style to really feel like they have equal importance and that they can be just as vested in what's going on, I think is going to be an important part of, again, that concept of a shared world where everybody feels like they're able to contribute no matter what device they're on, no matter what role they're playing. And the idea of everybody kind of being their own individual goes into another topic that we were looking at doing, and that's the idea of the faceless character. And that's kind of a trope that's certainly not exclusive to Bungie by any means, but it's kind of become well known with Bungie as far as the heroes that you play, that faceless, sometimes voiceless character. Where it's the player behind the mask. But are we going to see that continue in Destiny? Are we going to see, you saw with like Mass Effect. Mass Effect was kind of almost the opposite, where, it's the opposite approach to the same idea, where Shepard was everybody and everybody was Shepard, but you really could give that Shepard a face and customize it to your liking. Whereas with Master Chief, everybody looked the same, but everybody could still pour their persona and pour their story into it. So it'll be interesting to see which way it goes with Destiny. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Levi, do you need me to repeat the question?
No,
okay, just making sure.
Yeah, so I think they're going to build it up so that we're not playing necessarily the main character like Shepard is. I mean, he is the integral tool to making that, galaxy survive in that story. And I feel like while each of us will, of course, think that our character is a badass, will be more of a soldier, faceless soldier in the ranks, not as important as Master Chief, more like a ODST.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not expecting any type of major character tied to any of our player characters.
Beorn, what do you think?
Well, so during the GDC talk, they specifically brought up the idea of makeup and hairstyle for characters and how important that was for us to be able to have some sort of customization. So I think maybe at least in the city, in the social areas, we're gonna see that. But then maybe when we're out in the world exploring, fighting, we'll have the helmets on. Maybe if only for performance concerns. But yeah.
Exactly. Malagate, I know this was a subject that was originally near and dear to your heart. So, what are your thoughts on that? Expand on this for us.
Well, as was just mentioned, the performance concerns. That was one of the main things that occurred to me. Is I was thinking, I absolutely agree with the direction that in the social areas and situations like that, finding something else besides just armor permutations, capes, weapons, and things like that to distinguish a player is a great thing. It's a great idea, and so the one thought that I had was why would we not see that in out in the wild in terms of in environments where you can be in combat. And I think the performance considerations has got to be, at least to my reasoning, the reason why not. And I mean, be that as it may, if that is the reason, why not? I'm perfectly fine with that. But the thing that I would be curious to see is whether or not we see more of the marketing, more of the TV spots, more of that kind of thing. How much they lean on the social aspect of it when we're seeing TV spots and things like that. Because I think for lots and lots of people that are not the core market for gamers, a fully masked character that is not as relatable as to somebody with an open face is I think that kind of puts a wall between some mainstream potential players and the core. I think the core is much more comfortable with that kind of thing. And I mean, if they're aiming at the core, if they're just aiming at games we want to play and that sort of thing, and they're expecting the success of everything else to drive it, then I think that there's not many other folks that could make that bet. But this is a new thing, and I think that they're going to want they're going to want to cast as wide of a net as possible. So I think that marketing-wise and attracting new players, that actually factors in more than one might think.
Well, and we don't have to really look any farther than, and again, we've referenced it, Reach. Not only does it seem like Bungie was certainly testing the waters for certain things as far as the gameplay goes, but maybe they were even testing the waters in regards to marketing, because if you remember, the Reach marketing was very much, let's put a face on this game, and it was kind of a dual prong. When you think of, let's say, Birth of a Spartan, Birth of a Spartan again was putting a face to those Spartans. It was seeing who was underneath the helmet of the players that you were either playing as or playing with, and then the Remember Reach campaign, which was specifically really giving a human face to the planet itself. It wasn't talking about, it's just this, nameless, faceless, fallen world. It's no, there are people who are living here and working here, and there are families here, and so this is what you're fighting for. So, we, like you said, we've said it before, but looking back at their history and even their recent history, I would imagine would lend itself to the idea that they are going to try to broaden that scope. Beorn, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't think so. I just echo what you guys just said. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I think one thing to consider too is the talk about pulling back the third-person camera in like the social areas.
Yes,
that'll be pretty neat. It sounds like a primary driver for that is just being able to show off your character, because your character is going to be a lot more customizable than before. So maybe, being able to pull back the third person, you'll actually be able to see the face outside of just cutscenes. So that'll be interesting.
Well, and two, if we're going to have different races, if the armor is not necessarily going to be that differentiated, and we don't know, it could be, but why have different races if you are not going to be able to kind of highlight them in more than your player card screen in a lobby? So, Biggie, do you have any extra thoughts to that?
I think one thing I've always appreciated about the faceless character is that it really does help me engage in the game and the world, whereas a game like Mass Effect or Uncharted, it's more like I'm playing a game and experiencing some character's story.
Yeah.
So I've always appreciated that about Halo. I think Destiny might fix some of the issues with that by letting you pull out in third person and letting you customize the look of your character, not necessarily the face and the voice, but saying like you walk through town and you pull out in third person and that you're walking past everyone in the social area and they're like, wow, look at his badass cape, wow, look at that helmet. And that's kind of like your identity. You're the badass walking through town with some gear that someone else doesn't have, or they didn't get that loot. So, I mean, I think that's what I'm interested in seeing, is how do they keep me feeling like it is my character and not some Nathan Drake or not some Commander Shepard, but at the same time letting me kind of mold myself to give myself, a uniqueness in the world.
And hey, if you still want to go back to that sort of Master Chief faceless feel, maybe I mean, do the Exos even have a face? Like maybe
because even with the postcard, was that a face? Was that armor? We don't really know. So
maybe that's an option for people to like. Well, you can always pick this one if you don't want to mess around with, customizing the eyes and nose and all of that. It's like just go Exo, and then you can pick a helmet that you'll always see, and he'll. This character will never take it off. It'd be like, if in Mass Effect you could just completely skip that character creation screen, which is my greatest fear out of this customization, is that I'll get Destiny home from a midnight launch and then spend 2 hours agonizing over how I'm going to make my character look.
That's the best part.
I'm definitely going to do that. Yes. Yeah.
One
and
thing
GrimBrother 3, for the record, will spend about 2 days doing it. So
one thing that I think is an important question maybe to raise at this juncture is, we've got 3 different races here, but is there any difference in the personality, in the culture, in the, fiction-wise, in the plot that we're going to see? Because if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like all 3 of these quote-unquote races are actually variations of something that came from human culture. So given all of the story material we've got, I've wondered, are we going to, in the variation that we're going to see in player customizability, are each of the races going to be distinct in the styles of things that they wear to any degree, or is all going to be pretty much the same pool of gear, but when you're in the social context, then you look different?
I'd love for NPCs to treat you differently depending on your race. Like the Elder Scroll games, I've always enjoyed, playing a Khajiit or whatever, and just, everyone's basically racist towards me.
Like Tiger Man?
Yeah, Tiger Man. So...
Bungie's just saving the Tiger Man race for themselves.
Tony's going to be recon. Yep. So, in continuing on, one of the things that has been bandied about, when we were talking a little earlier about platforms, and it's something that really just kind of goes along with the evolution of the console lifestyle, and really gaming in general, is the idea of the microtransactions. And it's funny because it still links up with what we were just discussing with the player character customization options. It's going to be very interesting to see if there are going to be those helmets or capes or weapons that maybe are only available through a microtransaction. I haven't heard that necessarily suggested, and actually now that the words have come out of my mouth, I feel like I shouldn't have said that, because I know that all of our calls are being tapped anyway, and that information is going to make it back, and it's going to become reality. But I mean, does anybody want to just go ahead and jump in on your thoughts on microtransactions, and not necessarily microtransactions in general, because that's a whole different podcast, but just maybe how it will specifically be implemented, if at all, in Destiny?
Well, I think I'll jump in on this one. I think they're definitely possible. I mean, if you look at the terms of use on the Bungie.net page and on the Bungie app, there's been mention of virtual currency and those for over a year now. So it's clearly something that they've been preparing for a long time. And then you look at the careers page and how they're hiring. What was it? There's a player investment designer that they had.
Yeah.
But I want to say there was also some sort of like economy designer.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think both of those sort of lend a lot of credence to some sort of in-game currency, and that can also be extended to some sort of microtransaction thing as well. And also listening to just talk of how many guns and customization things. And the fact that Destiny won't have, even though it's not an MMO, but it certainly has some MMO-like qualities. But they've gone on record saying that it won't have a subscription fee. I wouldn't be surprised if Activision wants some sort of extra income from a monetization thing. So I think it's possible, but I also have enough trust in Bungie that it won't be this really disgusting, cheap, game-breaking thing. I don't know. Maybe it'll all be cosmetic stuff, which would be my hope. But
yeah, I like the idea of the cosmetic stuff because, I mean, for somebody like myself, my brothers are certainly the same way, and I know a lot of people who really like the cosmetic stuff. That's cool, but then it becomes a pick and choose, and you're not having to worry about, oh, this is affecting gameplay. This is making me better or giving me an unfair advantage, especially when you talk about anything competitive multiplayer. But even just in the game itself, as you progress, you kind of don't want to have people get too much of a leg up just because they have the ability to pay more than other people. I like the idea with it being pretty much confined to cosmetic stuff.
Before we get any further on this, let me toss out real quick the example of Mass Effect 3, though, because there are microtransactions built in there that are not offending, in my opinion, that are not offending a lot of different kinds of consumer sensibilities with having a transaction and making people feel forced that they have to spend more to excel at the game.
Well, part of the difference is that you're still. It's almost like you're paying to get a better shot at a lottery because you're not paying for individual items even or individual weapons that are going to be good. You're paying for the chance to get better stuff. So
but I'm telling you, I abhor microtransactions. I do not pay for microtransactions. In hardly any games. I play a lot of games for a very short time because I'll try a lot of different things, and I tell you, I can count on one hand the number of games that have gotten me to pay microtransactions. And if you were to look at it statistically, I have spent more on Mass Effect 3. Spectre packs and those microtransactions. Orders of magnitude more than any other game.
What I would love to see is, since I'm not a big fan of microtransactions, but Bungie Pro and stuff where it's like supplemental services on top of the base game that you pay for that not everyone is interested in. Like that kind of stuff, I could see Bungie coming up with some cool ideas that, if you're a machinima maker or, these kinds of things where it would supplement that and different approaches to the game instead of altering the actual game. Like, I think I'd prefer that route.
That's pretty cool. I also, to go back to Mass Effect, another game that I'd like to hold up as a good example of microtransactions is Team Fortress 2. And that's one where it's like a lot of the items are just cosmetic, like hats are clearly the most popular Team Fortress 2 item. But there are also like a lot of weapons and even some of the hats have gameplay components to them. But all of those items you can get without spending a dime in the game. You can find them on random drops, or you can get the materials you needed to craft an item of that type, and there's a chance it'll be the one you're looking for.
Oh man, nobody said anything about crafting.
Yeah, so I really like what Valve has done with that, where you can pay to immediately get the item you want, but there are also ways to earn the item either through achievements or through just random drops. And a lot of times the best items are the ones that are either the ones everybody starts out with or the ones that you're guaranteed to get by completing a certain set of achievements in the game.
And that's actually, to jump on real quick on the achievements thing. I've always been somebody who really liked the achievement system on the Xbox, and not for the crazy end of the spectrum on it, but I always just kind of like the little bleep bloop. I like the, chasing after certain ones and then ignoring others and everything. But some of the more recent news regarding changes to the achievement systems and the way that Microsoft is wanting developers to be able to add achievements throughout, not necessarily just tied to DLC, but being able to add a certain number per either week or per month. Reminds me actually a lot of how Steam does it with the achievements with their developers and publishing partners. So it'll be interesting to see how involved Bungie gets in that, and whether or not we'll see that tied to certain unlockables that might have otherwise become microtransactions, like you referenced. But now, all of this, of course, everything we're discussing, all this speculation, hopefully, most, if not all of it, will be our desires to be sated this coming week, and probably one of the most tantalizing just glimpses recently that we've gotten of what we're going to be seeing is the Law of the Jungle trailer, which I think I've seen about 712 times. I actually watched it in every language available. It is absolutely beautiful in Italian. But what are you guys thoughts on just the trailer itself, on the characterization, on the tiny little story they seemed to be telling? Let's go with Duncan. Start us off, man.
I thought that trailer was okay. It was a little dumb. No.
Okay, let's go with Biggie.
Freaking awesome.
Master Biggie. No.
I mean, especially like just having the live action thing. I hope I'm gonna say his name horribly wrong. Was it Giancarlo Esposito, something like that?
It works for me.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
What is he? Mr. Fring, I think. And
Gus Fring.
Yes.
Do they show the kid in that trailer that he's talking to?
No.
Not really.
Like,
no.
They should pan the camera around and it's like Bryan Cranston like chained up or something.
It's funny. I always thought that it was going to be Fred Savage, but a very young Fred Savage.
That'd be good.
Maybe you can read it to me again, Grandpa, tomorrow.
But I thought that trailer was really neat. I mean, how many times have we gotten a CG trailer from Bungie like that? I'm trying to think back. Like we had the
Halo 3.
Yeah, there was the Halo 3.
In Reach, we had Deliver Hope.
Yeah,
which was some combination.
Yeah, that was. I'd almost say that one skews a little closer to live action than this one. I mean, obviously this one had the live action bits with him reading the book, but
this was definitely far closer to the what was
Desperate Measures.
Yeah, but that was very gameplay too.
Oh yeah, it was totally gameplay. It was all in engine.
But no, Mass Effect 3's Return to Earth, I think. They did a female shepherd, which is the real shepherd, and a male shepherd.
Wait a minute.
One, and it was a fully CG trailer, and absolutely spectacular. Or Defend Earth, something like that. But it reminded me a lot of that, as far as the production values and the quality.
But I thought it was a really neat way to sort of show off a lot of like the character design and enemy design, weapon design. I saw some people complaining like, "Oh, this isn't gameplay. The game's not going to look anything like this." Like, well, okay, maybe not moving that smoothly or not that high res, but just looking at the awesome character design, like the giant, what was it, Cabal enemy at the end there, just
and showing work together and other stuff like that. I mean, that hints at the root gameplay designs and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Speeder pikes.
Yeah, that's
every time they're like on their speeder pike and he just looks over and gives them the nod. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Freeze frame it there.
Oh yes, like I think the image is burned into my TV.
I can't wait to see how handles, how that plays. I mean, one of my favorite things going back to Halo 1 and just the Halo franchise in general has just been the Warthog. You know, like this. I thought it was one of the greatest things to come out of Halo 1 was just having this co-op vehicle that was just fun to drive around and shoot enemies. And I don't know how many countless hours I spent, you know, after all the enemies were dead, just driving around on the hills and trying to go off sweet jumps and stuff.
And everybody could have a role. I mean, the worst thing that could happen was that you were in the passenger seat and you could still shoot. Yeah,
still throw grenades.
Yeah.
I would love for Bungie to bring back first-person views in vehicles.
Oh, yes. My favorite part of almost any trailer is the very beginning of the beta, the Reach beta.
Oh, yeah.
The invasion video?
Yes, where it was showing first-person Warthog driving, and it is so good.
The nausea would totally be worth it.
Better with Kinect. Better with Kinect.
You know, bringing it back to the trailer. You know, what I really loved was that it helped us sort of anchor the values and the the sort of reality of the Destiny universe, and sort of brought it back and tied it in with what, you know, people here and now you know, see in the real world. And I just loved the idea that, like, it's, you know, 700 whatever years in the future, and they're still reading like this hardback book, and it's like, that may be that family's, you know, most valuable possession of, you know, humanity long gone, but they have this, you know, this hardback book. I love that it wasn't, you know, an electronic tablet or something like that. It could have very easily been that way. Obviously, the technology's there. We're getting space flight and all that, but I don't know. There's something that's really visceral.
Yeah, it harkens back to an appreciation of where they came from.
Exactly. Yeah, and I just love that. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else with any thoughts on the trailer itself?
I hope we see, and I'm going to murder this name. I hope we see Giancarlo have a role in the game proper, like doing a voice or something. That would be
Breaking
cool.
Bad the new Firefly? Actually, speaking of Firefly, I wouldn't surprise me to have
Firefly guys back too.
Yeah.
Just
have them.
We'll hear from them.
Don't explain it at all.
I'd be very
They'll all have the same names. Wait a second.
This is Guardian Buck.
Okay, here I tell you what, I will microtransaction the hell out of a Serenity if they include that as a personal spacecraft. I'll tell you.
Firefly class transport.
Wasn't there a tweet or something that Nathan Fillion visited the Bungie studios recently or something?
Oh, he's involved somehow.
Yeah,
that does not surprise me.
Yeah, he visited the studio like a week or two ago, and then he also made a tweet where he said something about meeting his destiny, and of course, destiny was capitalized, and that was after his visit.
Sneaky man.
If nothing else, he's been there and seen the game, so I'd be very surprised if they weren't trying to at least get him in the recording booth for 5 minutes.
And what's funny is actually how reminiscent in certain ways, even if just thematically, Destiny feels like to Firefly. You know, that kind of space western, that against all odds, pioneering, going back and exploring. You know,
striking out into the wilderness.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels very similar, and it encompasses a lot of the things and values and core ideologies of what I loved about Firefly. So it'll definitely be interesting to see some of the connections there. Now, let's go ahead and to wrap up, just want to kind of get everybody's pre-E3, you know, your just final thoughts. You know, what are, you know, anything that you want to expand on that we've already talked to, or that you've suddenly thought of that we didn't hit on at the very, very beginning? just anything else that you're excited about, or maybe things that are not completely related to Destiny, but just anything else E3 wise that you're looking forward to, clarifications or really getting to see games on the new consoles, things like that. Let's go back down the list, and Duncan, we'll start with you.
Well, as far as Destiny goes, I have no idea what to expect beyond amazing things. We've got D Miller on our forum saying that this is the biggest E3 for Bungie since he's been there since 2005. So that just leaves the door wide open. And it seems like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm paying more attention than in previous years, but it seems like a lot of the Bungie gang are really, really excited, more than I've ever seen them. So my imagination has no bounds for that. As far as other E3 stuff, I'm really curious to see Microsoft finally talking about games. If their entire presentation is going to be focused on games, that sounds pretty awesome. I'm guessing they're going to have some features that they haven't talked about yet, in their back pocket, specifically for games. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Certainly hope so. I just want some Marty. I want more Marty.
Did you see his tweet about 50 minutes of music the other day?
No.
He had this cryptic tweet about, what was it? It was like market research. If you like 1 minute of music, would you like 50?
Yeah,
and that's all he said. So I imagine we'll get plenty of new music.
Those are tweets that don't require the wearing of pants in order to read. Biggie, thoughts?
I'm just excited to see it finally. It really feels like it's been forever since we've had a real Bungie presence for any convention or in any shape or form. So
yeah,
that's really exciting. I guess I was kind of getting burnt out on the industry. Just people were kicking out a lot of the same games and a lot of playing it safe. So I'm excited to see new ideas from every developer and kind of like inject some new excitement into the industry with new consoles and all this stuff. So I can't wait for that.
Totally agree. Beorn.
Yeah, this E3 just seems like it's this perfect storm of we've got both brand new consoles that are going to be hitting, really we're going to start getting real details for that. We've got, like Biggie said, the first time we've seen Bungie for a while at a big convention, and, they always raise the bar. They always bring the A game. And so, no, I'm just super excited to see what happens on Monday night.
Yeah, totally agree. Malagate, thoughts?
I don't know. I think that the things that I'm hoping for to see out of Destiny are far outshadow anything else that's even at E3. I mean, the new consoles is almost immaterial to me. It's for me, it's about what's going to be my best experience playing Destiny, but also with the most folks that I know. I know earlier people had remarked about, picking one console because that's where their community is going to be, and the same thing is for me. So I don't. There's not much else I think that's on my radar besides what we're going to see, and I think the big questions that need to be answered are possible release date, competitive multiplayer, and more of the social aspects of what's the variety of experiences aside from just combat that folks are going to see out of Destiny.
And Levi.
So, kind of what a lot of the other guys were talking about this we haven't seen Bungie for a while and being burnt out kind of on the industry and stuff. So, yeah, I could care less about any new consoles or, I'm fine with being pleasantly surprised. That's great. But I'm heaping a huge amount of pressure on Bungie and Destiny, just because it kind of represents kind of like a hope, like a idealistic kind of a new start. You can compare it to Halo if you want to, and I mean, it will be compared to Halo, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it can be. This can be right now like the ground zero for the start of like something completely new and different that everybody can be like excited for, and we don't have to, read 8 pages of, forum rants about how they didn't do this, because this is the start. This is what we'll be comparing Destiny 2 towards. And I'm also excited just to see, like everyone was saying, Bungie show up in a big way and, I mean, impress me in the same way that I was impressed with, like, Halo 3 and Halo 2's. I mean, if it starts with some big city with some guy with a cigar yelling at me that the city's invaded, and it ends with some guy saying, I estimate that you cannot glue it or something, like, I'll be quite happy. That was a very obscure reference to Halo 2 pre-demo, if I have to explain that. I mean, they're in my head. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Sounds good to me. I guess as long as they just show us gameplay that we actually get in the game, no one will have anything to complain about, I suppose. But
they could show the Halo 3 trailer again, and I'd still be excited.
That's for real. That's for sure. Well, guys, I think this is a great spot to go ahead and wrap up. And if any of our listeners are going to be out at E3, there will be some of us there. There will be a DBO contingent there as well. So please feel free to hit us up. Probably, I guess, the easiest way to get in touch with us, other than on our forums on Destiny.Bungie.Org, is also over social media. Probably Twitter's maybe the best. Me personally, I am at GrimBrother One, all spelled out, GrimBrotherOne. And if you want to hit us up at DBO specifically, you can catch us at DBO tweets, and that's at DBO_tweets. And if you actually don't want to talk to us and you just want to get the news feed updates, kind of like an RSS feed for Twitter, you can just do at DBO News. But let's go around. Duncan, how can people get in touch with you?
I accept smoke signals and money orders.
I knew it.
But if you have to get in touch with me on Twitter, it's at NCSU Duncan, and that's Duncan spelled like the yo-yo, not like the donuts.
Oh, I've been spelling it wrong this whole time. I was about to congratulate you on your coffee. Biggie.
Please don't contact me.
Okay.
You can mastrbiggy at mastrbiggy.
Beorn.
My Twitter's at Beorn Lake, and I'm frequently in the forums usually.
Very cool. And Malagate.
Forums, and you can get me at malagate@gmail.com, but with a 1 instead of an L.
And Levi.
At Levi was probably the easiest way, but I've also got, all the other stupid things that you can possibly have. So any way you want to contact me.
MySpace.
And there is the Ruby.
Zanga.
MySpace for Duckface. There's the rumor going around that DBO has a Facebook page. Can we confirm that?
No way.
That'll never happen.
It can't be true.
What's next? A front page? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our first episode. I guess it's the episode before our first episode, but for our pre-E3 special, we definitely hope to hear from you guys. Whether it be over social media or definitely visit us on the Destiny.Bungie.Org forums. We hope that you are as excited as we are for the brave new world that Bungie is about to throw us headlong into. For everyone, I'm Grim. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.